listening to the Savvy Musician Show with Leah McHenry, and this is your secret weapon for success in the new music industry.
Well, welcome once again to the Savvy Musician Show. This is CJ Ortiz, and I'm the branding and mindset coach here at the Savvy Musician Academy, joined once again by the lovely Leah McHenry, Her Eminence, the mistress of all music marketing, Princess Leah, as I think I once called her. Good to see you again. How you doing?
I'm happy to be here. Today's an exciting day.
Very exciting day. Can't wait to get into this. I hope everybody's been enjoying the podcast. Again, you can do us a solid by being sure to go to your podcast player and leave an exciting, riveting review that other people will want to read, people just like you who are working very hard in their personal music business, and help them find and discover the Savvy Musician Show, because it's going to mean a lot to them and their career. That's a great way to be a help to us. Leave us stars if they offer that, and we appreciate each and every review that you give. Leah, before we get into what's special about today, I just want to share again what we always do, a student spotlight. Today, one of our Tom students, Rich Howe, he writes #win big moment. This week, I have finally opened my website, mailing list, and now my Facebook page for my progressive sci-fi metal project. I've also made a teaser video of my first single, which is going to act as a Facebook ad. I'm so excited. Until I got to the moment of actually making everything live, I was nervous about the point of no return. But now fan numbers are increasing already, and it's all the motivation I need to crack on with my debut album due next spring. All of this kicked off in April when Leah's ad, after seeing it about 5 times everywhere, directed me to the Tom webinar, and my brain was just in the perfect place to receive the information, and I suddenly saw a path. Thank you, Leah. How about that?
It's great.
Don't you love these micro niches that people come up with? Sci-fi, heavy metal, jazz, influence, country, rock.
And there really are people that want it and they love it and will totally nerd out over it.
Yeah. It's funny. It's great here because we recently talked about crowdfunding, and we're going to talk more about the larger context of things in relation to the production of music. But it's great to see someone see a path. And I think that's an important point, is he sees a path. Because I think when we're looking for motivation and things, sometimes all we really need, we don't need a cheerleader right now. We don't need somebody just to tell us, hey, you can do it. We need to know how, and we need to see a path. We need a light, something to direct us to know where we're going. That's enough oftentimes to carry us. We've got all the energy and the creative power that we need. We just need to know which direction to go. And in light of that, the direction we have been steering people away from, Leah, for a while now, is the traditional music industry, is record labels. And in light of all of that, you've been telling me about somebody for some time now, which I'm very excited to say is going to be joining us today on this particular podcast. And why don't you tell us a little bit about our guest?
Yeah, I am really excited to introduce you guys to somebody that I've been working with all year. And his name is Jens Hilzensauer. Did I get it right? Sort of, kind of. All right. Well, it's German, and he's from Germany, and he's been working with me behind the scenes on my own music career. As you guys know, if you've ever watched my webinars, you'll know I'm a huge fan of never putting all your eggs in one basket. No investor will ever tell you to, put them all in one basket, put it all in this one place, invest it all in whatever, the stock market or something. That's not wise. So I have been working a little bit on, this beginning of 2019, I decided I really wanted to pursue sync licensing after I talked to a couple other people. We had a great guest on our podcast about it. I was like, that is an avenue I've really never pursued, and I think it would be really fun. So in that process, I met Jens, and through a series of events, and he's been helping me with getting that process started, and subsequently getting a little bit into the publishing side of things, because that, if you get publishing, it's easier to get sync licensing. These are things I have no idea about. It's a whole world that I don't know anything about. And so that's why I got the help, is because this isn't something that can be easily taught. There's no course that, especially when you get into relationships and it all comes down to relationships when in the publishing world, it just, from what I understand, it's very complex. So that's why I got help. So I wanted to bring Jens in today, and you can correct the pronunciation on your last name, to talk a little bit about behind the scenes, because he has many talents. For one, that's what I learned, many different talents. He does many different things. He is a musician himself. He's also got a lot of inside perspectives and insight on the industry itself, and especially in the record labels and what's actually going on there now. There's been such a transition. Now, we've never come out and said we hate record labels. That's never been the case. It's just that for 98.7% of musicians, I made that up, but 98% of musicians are never going to get a traditional record deal. And so to put all your dreams, hopes, and everything into that one thing, that thinking it's going to be your savior and that's what's going to make you rich and famous, is delusional. And you don't need to, in light of the music industry we have today. So it's not necessary, but we never said that we hate record labels. It's just that there are so many more viable options for you. So I just want to say that from the outset going in. We're not here to bash anybody. We're not here to bash labels, but we are here to talk about what's really going on and why it is more important than ever that you take ownership of your own music career. And I say this as somebody who is, we're talking with publishing companies, and and somebody who is going into this. So let's dig into this a little bit. Nice to have you here, Jens. I'm so glad you could join us today.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Let me say something just really quick here. Whenever I coach any of the elite students that I work with in the Savvy Musician Academy, I'll often ask them, when did Leah first come across your screen? I understand, Leah's utilizing of your abilities and positioning in the industry where you are in Germany. But when did she come across your radar? How did you meet Leah for the first time?
I met Leah in little quotation marks online back in, I think it was 2013. And I worked as an intern at a game and sound design company. And at that time, I just saw a YouTube video of Leah going viral. Was it 2013? I think it was related to the Skyrim soundtrack.
Wow.
I don't recall exactly when you published your rendition of the main theme of this video game. But that was the first time I heard of your music. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I stalked you and I was like, yeah, okay, it's a viral video and she doesn't even have a label. I like it. And I just put it somewhere in my internal archive and forgot about it. And a few years later, I was thinking about different business models or new directions artists are going. Because there are a lot of famous rappers and hip-hop artists who are really getting out ahead as completely independent from labels. So they're not with indies. They are doing and running their own label, so to speak, but not in a classic way. And I was looking for artists that do have the same approach to business. They run their artist career like a business, and artists who are in the driver's seat but not in the hip hop or rap industry. And then I remembered, there was this woman, this female metal singer. And then I remembered, and then I just saw a job opening. And I basically more or less wrote, I don't want this job, but I would love to work with you because you get it. And you get the idea of running your artistry like a business. And it's a good thing because nobody is deciding things for you artistically. Because I think what really attracted me to Leah as an artist and as an entrepreneur is she got that it makes a lot of musicians shy away from the business side of things. But what they forget is the business decisions have to be made. It's either you are making them, or it's somebody else. And I experienced firsthand what that actually means, being signed to a record label with a band a few years ago, and we were young and dumb, signed a bad contract, and our band broke up and we got dropped a few years later. So that was that.
Well, there you go. I mean, right? It's a testimony of the fact that, like, Leah said, we're not trying to bash the record labels, but sometimes what we're for really is the success of the independent artist and the continuation of artists being able to earn a living from their music. But sometimes being for something makes you against something else. And so it's just the default, because up until this time, obviously labels have controlled so much of this. And as in anything that's institutional, it rests on its laurels and it is going to exploit and it's going to look after its own interests. And, the artist tends to be the one who's expendable. We don't see many testimonies of big successes having to do with artists and record labels. It's usually an artist years later trying. I remember Metallica, for example, announcing that in fact, I heard James Hetfield reiterate the story. He was saying how when he finally got the news that Metallica now had the rights to all of their music. And so he's with his family. He has several kids, and he was celebrating this. And the kids were like, well, Dad, what are you celebrating? He goes, we finally have all of our music. And the kids were like, why would you not have your music? They couldn't figure out, well, you see, the record labels have owned it for this many decades, etc. So yeah, now we've got this new era where we need something much, much different. And, thankfully, Leah didn't necessarily go that route. So she was forced to kind of forge her own way, which has kind of created this new template for things. How long did it take for you to really get your head around what exactly she was doing?
I think actually not that long, because at the point of realization, I was already deep into funnel marketing, email marketing, content marketing, customer journeys, etc., online marketing and paid advertising on social media. So I was like, she's just applying real world business and e-commerce tactics to the music industry. She's running it like a business, and it makes total sense.
Thank you. Because I get so many people like, on our ads or wherever seeing me, and they think that I'm a scam artist because they don't get it. And can you tell us like some of the reactions you got, some of the work we're doing together, and some of the reactions you've gotten from some of the executives that you've been meeting with? We can't say a whole lot at this point. Can you just give us a little bit about why we can't say a whole lot? Yeah, there's so much to say here.
Yeah, we are in negotiation with different companies. So unfortunately, I'm not allowed to disclose anything, but reactions varied widely from some companies that are more on the traditional side. They work on radio. The concept of business is you get a radio hit and then you go on tour and promote the hell out of it and make the money back. And then there are other companies that are a little bit more modern, and from the, let's say, conservative spectrum of music business things, I heard phrases like, that's not possible, it's a scam. How can you make money without going on tour? Because I think I'm allowed to say that it's not a number I got from the labels. It's just if you watch the numbers published by the music industry in general, then from record sales, only the top 20 makes a profit from record sales alone. And they were like, she's not in the top 20. How is she making money from music without touring? They couldn't grasp the concept. And then there was the other side of the spectrum where things are a little bit more modern and tailor-made, and they are more flexible with contracts. They're more like, we don't get it, but we would like to get in. It's like, we don't exactly understand how this works, but we want a piece of it. And that's actually where I think especially a major player makes sense as a partner. If you already run a successful business and make it to a certain point and you really want to take things up a notch or to the next league or global, I mean, of course, you are already global if you upload your music with let's say, DistroKid or CD Baby or any online digital distributor, you're global, but in a traditional sense, then I think a major is a good partner, and they have, of course, the money and the pathways, the infrastructure to roll it out in a big way. But up until that point, if you're not doing mainstream pop, I wouldn't recommend sending your stuff to a label, because I talked to so many label people. one A&R I'm friends with, he said, on my desk I receive around 2,000 demos a year. So 2,000 are the demos that are left after his assistant filtered out a lot of stuff. And he's like, I can sign around 5 a year. And I only sign, yeah, and I only sign what I think has a target audience, has a brand that's already clear and ready, and had some kind of small success, because I can only sign so many artists that fail. Because if I sign, let's say, 5 artists this year and they all fail, then it's my job.
Yeah, this even creates a stronger argument for why people need to take extreme ownership of their music career. Figure out your branding, figure out your niche, develop a following, because even if you wanted a major deal, they're not even going to look twice at you if you don't have those things in place already.
Yeah, correct.
So if that is your goal, all the more reason to get this off the ground yourself, learn the principles of digital marketing, learn the principles of branding, and all the things that we talk about here. It just makes an even stronger case.
Yeah, and I think it's totally easy for musicians if you frame it right. I mean, it's like learning an instrument, you know? You are not sitting down with your guitar for the first time and you are not expecting to be the next Eddie Van Halen right out of the gate. It's not going to happen. And it's the same with your brand. It needs work, it needs time, it needs dedication, and you need to have a plan and structure. I mean, you can waste a lot of time practicing, in quotes. So there's a difference between smart practice and just noodling away in your shed. And I think it's the same in marketing. And that's where I think, really for me, going through your stuff, I'm like, I already know this, but it makes so much sense. I'm watching the courses right now. I'm going through all of Leah's stuff just to get the whole picture of Savvy Musician Academy. And it makes so much sense. It's like, yeah, finally.
It's funny because I even have, there's people that come into our courses, they've taken a ton of other actual like business courses, marketing courses, and they weren't able to bridge the gap to make it work for their music. There's some highly intelligent people too that are in even our elite program, people who even create courses for other people, and they weren't able to somehow translate it to their music. And I think that was actually the true problem that I was able to solve. Wasn't so much, I certainly haven't reinvented the wheel about digital marketing. Like there's, in some ways, a lot of what I teach, there's nothing really new there. I think the problem I solved was applying it to music, and because it's weird, it's art, and it seems totally subjective. And how do you sell this? So that's a pleasure point. It's not really a big pain point. And we talk a lot about that sort of thing. And I think that's the problem that we've kind of solved on the digital marketing end, was bridging the gap for music. You can learn a lot of these same principles if you study business and e-commerce and marketing, all these other places. But suddenly you go to apply it to your music and you're like, this feels weird. Like, can I do the same thing? Can I have the same kind of calls to action? Do I use copywriting in the same way? Like suddenly it just feels awkward. And that's how I felt. And then I learned the key to it all is really, it's the identity. It's the artist identity and creating this truly authentic voice. So coming up to all the Black Friday sales and promotions, I'm going to create all my album launch, the Black Holiday sales and promotions the exact same way any e-commerce brand would. However, the difference is that it's not like a team writing it. It's all in my voice. I'm speaking to my fans. And yeah, I do have help. I have a small team helping me orchestrate all of this. But at the end of the day, it's my voice coming through and they're feeling like they're hearing from me, not a corporation, not a business. That's one of the ways I've been able to do this. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the epiphanies that you've had in this year? What is the state of most major labels right now in terms of their marketing? Like, what are some of the takeaways that you've landed in your mind? Because we've had some meetings where we're like laughing and crying at the same time. And it's just, are you allowed to talk about those things?
Yeah,
just generally.
Most of the bigger indies and majors, they don't even pixel their shop. It's like
Right.
it doesn't make sense. And it's so easy. What good marketing actually is relationship building. And I think that's where a lot of labels, publishing companies, etc. still fail. They try to reach new people all the time. Let's say you are releasing an album from artist X, she's a pop star, and instead of just asking all the people who bought the first album if they are interested in the second one, they just try to find new people to sell the second album to. It doesn't make sense. If you just made a friend and you went out and had a few beers and a great night, who's the first person I would call to go out with and have a few beers? Maybe I should find some new guy. Right? It doesn't make any sense. And I think that's what a good marketing actually is. It's just following up on people and trying to view it from a relationship perspective.
Totally. Do some of these majors or even indies, do they have email lists?
Yeah, they have email lists, but I mean, it's not enticing to be on that email list. And it's called Join Our Newsletter. Sign up for our newsletter and we'll let you know when we are going on tour. And I'm like, yeah, I can Google it. Why? So there's no reason for me to join those email lists. And I mean, I know your email list, and it's actually bigger than a lot of really big mainstream artists' email lists, which
Jens
is crazy.
He has access to my entire back end, so he's seeing like everything from the inside out.
I think it's so empowering, even for me as a musician, to see that there is another artist who gets it, who's doing it on her own terms. And I mean that literally. It's like you decide who's in your band and who's not. You decide what song's gonna make the album or not, when it's going to be released. Is it going to be a vinyl or a whatever? You decide what the artwork looks like. So there's no middleman in creative decisions, you know? And of course, there's pressure attached to that.
Yeah.
So you have to decide it yourself and you have to get it done. But at the same time, you have the freedom to decide it yourself. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's also the fun of it too. Like, to me, that's half of the enjoyment, is being able to make those decisions, being fully creative. Like, would it even really be fun if I didn't get to decide the artwork and I didn't get to just completely make it my own? Like, I can't imagine it being nearly as satisfying. So is that really a thing? Do people really lose creative freedom when they have a big record contract?
Typically they do. And then it all comes back to where you are in your career. You know, if you're already having some form of success, whatever that means. It could be some form of vanity metric, let's say YouTube plays, which we all know means nothing in the first place. I can't pay rent from YouTube plays, but the music industry still values it. But at the same time, maybe it's sales. Of course, that works. Spotify followers is a big incentive. So whatever form of success you can show, then you have some form of leverage over the label. And of course, it makes sense from the label's perspective. Let's say I'm the label. I have a big infrastructure to, let's say, radio, TV shows, all traditional forms of media outlets. And somebody's coming along, let's say Leah is coming along with an idea of like, I can sing. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. How am I supposed to make money with your ability to sing? But if I already know you are a great performer, you write great songs, you have a finished product I can sell. It's like, okay, there's a product I can sell, and that's where they make money. And I still have the feeling labels still haven't figured out how to make new fans. I think all the artists that are big now for like 20 years or 10, 15 years, they are famous because they busted their behinds on the road. And then after 10 or 15 years, you see something like an overnight success. But they work this traditional model of, let's say we play this club for 5 people, and next year they each are bringing 2 friends. And a year after that, they bring 2 friends. And a year after that, it's like 200 people. And then another year goes by and it's 500. Blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 10 years and then it's like 5,000 people, and then you can really make a living on it, and you can quit your shitty day job that cross-financed all of this, and you're an overnight success. And I think your model is actually a lot smarter. I haven't even talked about this with you, but I just had the idea of I want to start a solo career as a singer, and I'm just going to use the principles you do, because to me it sounds a lot more attractive to make a name for yourself, get fans, become friends with them, and after you build a following, you go on tour and you sell out places and you have data on people. That makes a lot more sense than going on tour and hoping for the best for the next 10 years.
Totally. That reminds me of, I just saw I have a street team, a Facebook street team, and one of my sweet fans posted a video in here. It was an unboxing video he did of vinyl, and he said, "Oh, I got a comment on my video," and this was the quote. It said, "Leah is probably the most caring, incredible, and reachable music artist I've ever listened to. Thanks for the video. We'll definitely buy this bundle." I thought that was the sweetest comment like that I've seen in a really long time, that they really see me as reachable. And when you said like be their friend, it reminded me of that comment I saw, and that it really matters. Sometimes, I'm doing this relentlessly and I forget how much it means to people. I forget that they're not used to this. They're not used to people they look up to, band members actually replying to them, caring about them. I've got a customer support person who I'm like, we've got protocols in place. So it's like, hey, here's where the e-commerce stuff comes in and the customer journey comes in. Where it's just like, I want them to be happy. If something gets lost in the mail, we send them another one on my dime. I don't care. We need to make that person happy. And so just caring about those things, giving a damn about people is revolutionary in today's online world. So that's another aspect. But are you telling me you've decided you're going to be a solo artist? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
I love it. This is exciting. This is so cool. That's really great. I mean, there's so much we could talk about with you too. And I feel like we may end up doing a part 2 because you have a lot of other specialties too. You're not just in the back end of the music industry. Although you have experience there, you have personal experiences with it yourself. But yeah, there's so much to talk about.
Let me just say, this is a key point as to why the record labels are struggling as much as they are to understand Leah's situation and what she's doing. And when we don't understand the way something is done, the more we think it's happening by magic or a scam or fate or something else. We ascribe these mysterious causes to something simply because we don't understand the way that it works. And the personal aspect, in fact, even this month, I think is a year I've been working with CMA. With SMA as a Country Music Association. I've been working with for a year. But so they're completely metal. Country music is completely metal. But working for a year, especially as a coach, and watching these musicians trying to absorb something that's very principle-based, obviously has a lot to do with the quote-unquote technology and all of that. And they're scared to death that they're going to miss something. They're scared to death that it comes down to a particular piece of software or something. There has to be some magic element to it, forgetting the fact that, no, this is a very, very personal social thing. So I'll often tell them, you have to keep in mind that although online marketing is a key element here, online marketing was happening long before social media because e-commerce was there. Amazon obviously had started in the 90s. So people were spending money online, and therefore businesses were marketing long before social media came around. But social media is the revolutionary element here because you're no longer relying upon people searching on Google to find you, right? Especially when you now have these creative niches that people have, these niche artists with all this sci-fi, heavy metal, country music thing. Nobody's going to go online looking for you. But this is what makes social media such a revolutionary element and a huge key to Leah's success, because you can now go direct to market. You're not relying upon people finding you. You're finding them by understanding who you are as an artist, your genre, your niche, the type of people who would be best for you, and then creating an effective brand for that community, for the culture that surrounds your music. And then you are now have to come out from behind the microphone to be not just the musician, but now also the messenger of the big idea that's behind your music. And we have a lot of, for example, artists in our elite program that are very mission driven. You know, their lyrics are, you know, there's a clear message about what they're doing. Could be the environment, could be, you know, something of faith or what have you. But all of those things require so much more in order to market in these days. But as I just taught a group out in Detroit here at a marketing seminar, and I told them, I said, you know, you'll really understand social media when social media disappears and you realize you're just talking to people. You know, it does go back, Jens, to what you said about, you know, you have a great night with a friend that you met and you had several beers and you're going to want to do that again, but are you going to go find somebody else? And no, you're going to continue that relationship. It costs so much more time, energy, and money to find somebody new, you know, where you can keep selling, so to speak, to that same person over and over again. There is nothing magical about this at all. Yeah. And I love the fact, Jens, that here you are in Germany. And, you know, Leah had mentioned to me beforehand, okay, now he has an accent. He has a heavy accent. So I'm thinking, well, I'm sitting here going, he knows all of our jargon and cliches and you know, so you were thoroughly Americanized as far as that goes. But are you seeing that aspect of it and how empowering is that to you? Just the fact that you have this ability now to control what's going on, but go direct to market and create these actual, tangible, real relationships where, like Leah described, you know, somebody who's watching an unpacking of a fan with the album and saying, coming to that conclusion, what a caring artist.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally mind-blowing if you just think back a few years. I mean, I'm not that old. I'm 30, right? So it all began with the digitalization of recording becoming cheaper and cheaper. And then the social media thing happens. And the first thing I realized was like, okay, why do I need social media as an artist? If I can fill a venue, if I have reach directly, I can ask people to go to my shows. If people go to my shows, I get booked for the next festival. Then I had the realization of, you can actually retarget people because you have a pixel, and that's what most labels unfortunately still don't get. You have a pixel and you can retarget people. So you can talk to people again that are already interested in your stuff. Let's say I met CJ at a bar and we're having a great time, a few big laughs, a few beers, and we forget to exchange numbers. But I have a pixel installed in that bar. And I can show CJ a Facebook ad saying, hey, I had a great time. Let's hang out again. I mean, isn't that great?
And the next round is on me, you'd say.
Yeah, and the next round is on me. And I mean, it's just simple offline relationship building in an online world, and you can scale it. That's just mind-blowing. And you don't need a middleman, and you can create your own artist business on your own terms because you have no creative middleman in between you and your success. It's so crazy empowering. I mean, of course, I had these talks about Leah, she's not going on tour, and what's the projection of her business. In my mind, it's like Leah has 5 kids, homeschools them, and runs 2 businesses. She's tougher than all of you. And what I just realized a few days ago is, of course, Leah's approach works. We see it. It's like evidence.
It works for millions of other businesses, so I'm pretty sure it works.
And if you look at it from a perspective of how well known is a brand to how much revenue is the brand making, and you compare, let's say, one company, Starbucks, to the worldwide record industry, you learn that Starbucks is making more than 5 times the revenue the whole worldwide record business is making. And I think that really puts it into perspective how small the record business actually is compared to the brand recognition. I mean, let's only take Taylor Swift, Metallica, AC/DC. How many people in the world know these brands? And yet these brands and bands and artists and real people make so little money compared to their actual brand awareness. and reach. It's insane. So there's something fundamentally wrong with the business model.
Yeah. Well, and look at how many of these huge artists start completely side e-commerce businesses, like Rihanna. I heard a statistic this morning. Like Rihanna has made more from her e-commerce businesses, her cosmetics line, than from her music. So, and what does she have? Does she have clothing line, or she has a fragrance line, a makeup line? Like that should tell you something too. That, well, I get a whole bunch of conclusions. What do you conclude from something like that?
Yeah, of course you see that her contract is actually a bad one. So,
yes.
I mean, she really has a lot of radio airplay and all the traditional media visibility and reach, and she's still not making a lot of money from her record sales. And of course, it's because of different deals people make and made in the past, you know. And at the same time, you see the power of e-commerce. And for me as a musician, I mean, after my publishing deal fell through, I thought it's a good idea to go to college and learn about the music business. And then I had this crazy idea of you go to college and then you know how it works. That's another story for another podcast episode. But what I learned over the last few years is people don't listen to music to listen to the music. And they don't go to concerts or live shows to listen to music. It's about status and about belonging to a specific group and to, let's say, your little cult in a way. And at the same time, you go to concerts just to go on an emotional journey.
Yeah.
You can sum this up by saying it's about culture. And your music is just one part of it. Mm-hmm. It's so much more. It's you as a person. And once I realized that, it's like, oh yeah, of course, it's so much bigger. It's the attitude, the values this artist portrays. It's so much more. I mean, it's not putting the music down. It's so much bigger than only the music. And once you get this, it's like, yeah, of course it makes sense for Rihanna to not only do music. She definitely should sell fragrances because she's a personal brand.
We're going to break Jens's interview up right here because he's got so much more to say. We felt it was worthy of 2 parts. So we'll have the next part in the upcoming episode. But until then, please take advantage of what we have at Savvy Musician Academy. Schedule a call today at callsma.com and see if we can help you out. Have a great day.
This episode was sponsored by the Superfan System Elite program here at Savvy Musician Academy. If you are looking to scale your existing music business and you're looking to get into advanced digital marketing, such as email marketing, funnels, e-commerce, Facebook ads, and more, and you're looking to build a real profitable online music business, book a call with our team at www.callsma.com. We would love to speak with you for about 30 minutes and see how we can help you. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more episodes, and we'll see you next time.